Welcome to a special broadcast of Daily World NewsCap here on Daily World Television. My name is Kal Korff and I'm your host. Tonight's show is about the largest news story currently unfolding. What happened apparently is that around 12:30 at midnight until 4:30 in the morning, Indian Special Forces in a classified operation flew over into Pakistani territory past the line of control. Now this is the border between India and Pakistan. They penetrated into Pakistani territory as far as 2 to 3 kilometers and struck a total of as many as 7 terrorist targets. According to reports that have been leaked as well as given to the media, the terrorist camps that were targeted were anywhere from some 500 meters into Pakistani territory to as far as 2 and 3 kilometers away. Although there are reports that Indian soldiers were injured, there are also reports that none were injured and that all returned home safely. Pakistan's Prime Minister, Nawaz Sharif, who does sponsor terrorism, this is beyond dispute. Pakistan is a state sponsor of terrorism, let's be blunt about this issue, has confirmed that at least 2 Pakistani soldiers were killed in this operation, obviously and very likely trying to defend their terrorists. There are also reports that as many as 30 to 40 terrorists were killed, and the number of targets struck range anywhere from 3 to 5 to as many as 7. Now, the fact that India has apparently struck back against Pakistan and has defended itself is unquestionably long overdue. As someone who lives in India, I can tell you from firsthand observation that the mood of the country, especially during the last several days, ever since 5 terrorists penetrated into India and murdered 18 Indian soldiers, the mood of the country has been, we need to defend ourselves, we need to strike back. And who can blame anyone for feeling this way? It is not India's fault, it is the terrorists' fault and those who sponsor terrorism. I remind you that terrorism, the very definition of this word, is the deliberate systematic targeting of innocent civilians for the purposes of political or social change. In other words, while some terrorist groups, the group Hamas being one example, although they like to lie and claim that they are freedom fighters, they're not. Whenever you target innocent people, you are a thug and a killer and a terrorist. That's it. You are not a freedom fighter. Freedom fighters attack government installations. They do not attack innocent civilians. And there is a universal definition of the word terrorism that is accepted by the United Nations. All the countries agreed in the aftermath of the terrorist attacks of 9/11 launched by Al-Qaeda against the United States that the definition of terrorism, once again, is the deliberate systematic targeting and killing of innocent civilians for the purposes of political or social change. Now, when India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi talked about the brutal terrorist attack that murdered 18 Indians, he said, and he was serious, and nobody took him serious, so shame on them, that their sacrifice will not have gone in vain. Modi was right. He walked his talk. He was true to his word. In the early morning hours between 12:30 and 4:30 in the morning, the actual combat is rumored to have lasted some 2 hours. The total mission time was roughly 4. Indian Special Forces went into Pakistani territory, killed a bunch of terrorists, destroyed their launch pad grounds, and returned safely across the Indian border. What is happening now in India is that the Prime Minister's office has been briefing various political parties including ones that criticize everything Modi does, even when Modi's right. This is ridiculous, but whoever said Indian politics was sane, it's not. They are being briefed on what happened. The Army has issued an official statement hours ago. More information is coming out. And what's interesting is to see the reaction of Pakistan. Predictably, Pakistan is denying that this incident happened, while its terrorist-sponsoring prime minister has confirmed that 2 Pakistani soldiers have been killed. He doesn't talk about the terrorists that were also killed that he sponsors. Of course, Pakistan is not going to admit that. What we do know is that this operation, this so-called surgical strike, was not only successful, it had the backing of the United States government and American President Barack Obama. The United States and Israel helped supply intelligence and satellite imagery. The targets were identified and watched for the last several days, and when intelligence emerged that a strike was imminent, India took the offensive, which is a very good thing to do. The best way to fight terrorism is not to sit around and wait to become its next victim. Instead, you must go on the offensive because, as the old axiom and adage does say, sometimes the best offense is a good defense, or some of the best defense is a good offense. It can go both ways depending on the situation. Now, India in the past has not struck back at Pakistan, as it certainly could have. It has been widely criticized, and understandably so, for its failure to take firm action against Pakistan. Now, if you look at some of the statistics, they are terrifying. In the year 2015, last year, there were 98 attempts to infiltrate the border from Pakistan to India. In the year 2016, there have been at least 20 attempts so far. In the past year to the present, there have been several successful terrorist attacks against India launched by Pakistan. These include everything from assaults on military bases to the murder of police officers and officers at border patrol checkpoints, and of course, innocent civilians. In the United States Congress, ever since Pakistan launched the attack several days ago, which murdered 18 Indians, the United States Congress is now considering a bill that will declare Pakistan to be a state sponsor of terrorism. If this bill gets signed into law by President Barack Obama, and we certainly hope that it does if you want to stand up for what is morally right, then Pakistan will have earned the dubious and infamous distinction of going under international sanctions, which it deserves, and it should continue to be punished until it stops its support for radical Islamic fundamentalist terrorism. We must remember that Pakistan has essentially destroyed its relationship with the United States ever since it was caught red-handed hiding Al-Qaeda co-founder and terrorist Osama bin Laden. In response to intelligence that showed basically where bin Laden was, American President Barack Obama, much to his credit, put together a CIA operation, or at least the CIA put it together along with U.S. Navy SEALs. President Obama authorized that operation. CIA and Navy SEAL commandos went into Abbottabad, about roughly 1 mile from Pakistan's equivalent of the West Point Military Academy, and right under the Pakistan Army's nose and military academy, they killed bin Laden, took his body, and went ahead and got his files and pen drives and got reams of intelligence, invaluable intelligence. And if you look at Al-Qaeda since the bin Laden raid, they have basically been unsuccessful and have yet to stage a major terrorist attack. I say yet because Al-Qaeda is by no means finished. Bin Laden's successor, al-Zawahiri, is likely also in Pakistan. And we also know that despite Pakistani lies to the contrary, we know that Taliban leader Mullah Omar died in Pakistan in a hospital of diabetes. His death was announced months after it had occurred. So Pakistan, because it does lie, because it is a failed nation, because it continues to support radical Islamic fundamentalist terrorism, Pakistan deserves world condemnation. It deserves world isolation. It should not be supported. And the more that nations align against Pakistan and send it a very clear message that supporting terrorism must never be allowed and must never be tolerated, and that terrorists must be hunted down regardless of their location and eliminated, the sooner there is a chance that Pakistan can reach its full potential as a prosperous nation. But as long as it supports terrorism, Pakistan will remain what it is, a failed country, not accidentally. It's not the victim of anybody. It is instead a deliberately failed country because what passes for its so-called leadership supports terrorism. They don't value human rights. They don't even value the basic rights of women and free speech. And there are a lot of dead journalists because they dared to speak out against these moral outrages. And the Pakistani government has been complicit in killing innocent people and, of course, bankrolling and supporting radical Islamic terrorists. There is no excuse. There can never be an excuse for supporting terrorism. Yet Pakistan always tries to play the victim card. Nobody believes them who has half a brain or an IQ over 10. And even now, Pakistan is claiming that India went ahead and did the wrong thing, that what India is claiming is not true. And as the facts emerge, they once again are proving that it is Pakistan who is lying. It is Pakistan who is not telling the truth. It is Pakistan who has been caught red-handed once again supporting terrorism. And just like when Pakistan denied that it knew that bin Laden was its guest all along and that he was in Pakistan to begin with, once again, the truth about Pakistan is being laid bare before the world, and the world has a right to understandably and deservedly condemn Pakistan. Now, recently, Pakistan was going to host the SAARC conference. India decided not to participate. Afghanistan, Bhutan, and Bangladesh are three other countries that joined in solidarity with India, saying, we're not going to give you any attendance. We're not going to go to your event because of your recent support for terrorism and your inexcusable recent spate of attacks against India, which Pakistan bears full responsibility for.